Maya had always been the type of person who planned everything. She made lists for her lists and kept backup plans for her backup plans. But sitting in her tiny apartment at 2 a.m., staring at her laptop screen and the overdue rent notice on her kitchen table, she realized that sometimes life doesn't care about your plans. The college town of Cedar Valley was getting more expensive every month. What used to be affordable student housing was now priced like luxury condos. Maya worked 3 part-time jobs tutoring math at the Learning Center, serving coffee at the campus cafe, and doing data entry from home, but it still wasn't enough. To cover her share of the rent alone, her previous roommate Kelly had moved out 2 months ago to live with her boyfriend. Maya had been happy for her friend, but the reality of paying double rent hit hard. She'd already sold her guitar, her bike, and most of her textbooks. The only thing left was to find a new roommate, and fast. The problem was, everyone she knew already had living arrangements. Her classmates were either living in dorms or had already paired up with friends. She'd asked around the campus, posted on student Facebook groups, and even put up flyers at the local grocery store. Nothing worked. That's when her friend Alex suggested the online classified ads. "You never know," Alex had said over lunch. "Sometimes the best roommates are the ones you don't expect." Maya wasn't so sure about that. She'd heard horror stories about people finding roommates online. But with her landlord threatening eviction and her savings account showing a balance that made her stomach hurt, she didn't have much choice. She spent an hour crafting the perfect ad. She described the apartment honestly: small but clean, with good natural light and a decent kitchen. She mentioned that she was a quiet student who kept regular hours and respected shared spaces. She even included a photo of the living room, making sure to capture the cozy reading nook by the window. The responses started coming in within hours. They were disappointing. Half were from people who clearly hadn't read the ad properly, asking about parking when she'd specifically mentioned there was none. Others seemed sketchy, with profiles that looked fake or messages that made her uncomfortable. Then, 3 days after posting, she got a message from someone called River. The message was different from the others: polite, well-written, and asking thoughtful questions about the neighborhood and apartment policies. River mentioned being a graduate student who valued quiet living spaces and was looking for a stable, long-term arrangement. What caught Maya's attention was how formal the writing. The style was. It reminded her of the international students she'd tutored, who often wrote English more correctly than native speakers. River asked about things like atmospheric conditions, instead of just saying air conditioning, and referred to the dwellings. Orientation, instead of asking which way the windows faced. Maya found it charming rather than weird. She'd grown up in a diverse neighborhood and had friends from all over the world. Different communication styles never bothered her. The conversation continued over several days. River asked practical questions about utilities, internet speed, and neighborhood safety. Maya was impressed by how thorough and considerate the questions were. River even asked about her sleep schedule and study habits, showing real concern about being a compatible roommate. When it came time to discuss the security deposit, River suggested using a digital payment method Maya had never heard of. "It's more secure," River explained, "and transfers immediately." Maya did some research and found it was a legitimate payment system, just newer and more high-tech than she was used to. The deposit came through exactly when River said it would. Maya stared at her phone, hardly believing her luck. Finally, something was going right. They arranged for River to move in on a Saturday, when Maya would be at her weekend job at the campus library. River had explained that they preferred to settle in quietly and would introduce themselves properly once they were situated. Maya appreciated the considerate approach and left a welcome note on the kitchen counter along with spare keys. When Maya returned home that evening, she could tell someone had been there. The apartment felt different somehow. Not in a bad way, just different. River had clearly moved into the spare room, but Maya noticed some odd changes. The room's window was now covered with what looked like professional-grade blackout curtains. Much nicer than anything a student would typically buy. There was also a strange but pleasant smell in the air. It's like nothing she'd ever encountered before. It wasn't perfume or air freshener, but something clean and almost metallic, with hints of something that reminded her of ozone after a thunderstorm. The most noticeable change was a subtle, humming sound coming from River's room. It was barely audible, like the quiet buzz of electronics, but constant. Maya assumed it was some kind of air purifier or white noise machine. She knocked on River's door to introduce herself, but received only a muffled response through the door. River's voice sounded tired and explained that they were still adjusting to the local environment and asked if they could meet properly in a day or two. Maya understood completely. Moving was exhausting, and everyone needed time to settle in. Over the next few weeks, Maya began to realize that River was unlike any roommate she'd ever had. They were completely nocturnal, which actually worked perfectly for Maya's schedule. She'd leave for her morning classes and return to find evidence that River had been active during the day. The kitchen was always spotless, sometimes even cleaner than Maya had left it. The trash was taken out without being asked, and the shared bathroom was maintained better than Maya had ever managed on her own. Communication happened through notes left on the kitchen counter. River's handwriting was precise and beautiful, like calligraphy. The notes were always polite and formal, addressing practical matters like utility bills and household supplies. River always paid their share early and often contributed extra for shared expenses without being asked. Maya started to look forward to these written conversations. River would ask thoughtful questions about local customs and seem genuinely interested in learning about the area. When Maya mentioned struggling with her advanced physics homework, she found helpful notes with elegant mathematical solutions waiting for her the next morning. The apartment had never run more smoothly. The Wi-Fi seemed faster, the temperature was always comfortable, and even the plants by the window were thriving better than they ever had. Maya wasn't sure what River was doing, but whatever it was working. Sometimes Maya wondered about her mysterious roommate. She'd catch glimpses of that blue glow under River's door and hear soft sounds that didn't quite match any normal household activity. But River was clearly respectful, responsible, and making Maya's life easier in every way. Some people were just private, and Maya respected that. The only thing that sometimes made Maya curious was how River seemed to know things about the neighborhood that even Maya didn't know. River's notes would mention local events before Maya heard about them anywhere else and would reference weather patterns with surprising accuracy. But Maya was too busy with her own studies and work to worry much about her roommate's quirks. 4. The first time in months, she was sleeping well, knowing that rent was covered and her living situation was stable. River had turned out to be exactly what she needed: a responsible, quiet roommate who respected boundaries and kept their word. Maya had no idea that her life was about to change in ways she could never have imagined. 3 months had passed since River moved in, and Maya's life had settled into a comfortable routine. Her grades were improving, her stress levels were down, and she'd even managed to save a little money. The mysterious roommate arrangement was working better than she'd ever hoped, but that comfortable routine was about to be shattered in the most unexpected way. It started on a Tuesday night in November. Maya had been pushing herself harder than usual, working double shifts at the coffee shop to save money for her upcoming winter break trip home. She'd been living on energy drinks and determination for the past week, barely sleeping 4 hours a night. That evening, she'd come home exhausted and tried to finish a research paper that was due the next morning. She'd set up her laptop at the small desk in her bedroom, surrounded by textbooks and coffee cups. The paper was on cultural adaptation patterns, ironically enough, and she'd been struggling to find the right angle for her argument. Around midnight, Maya's eyes started burning from staring at the screen. She told herself she'd just rest them for a few minutes. She folded her arms on the desk and put her head down, planning to take a quick power nap before finishing the paper. But her body had other plans. The exhaustion of the past week caught up with her all at once, and she fell into a deep, dreamless sleep right there at her desk. What happened next would change everything. Maya woke up to the strangest sensation she'd ever experienced. She wasn't at her desk anymore. Somehow, she was lying on her bed, but she couldn't move. Her whole body felt heavy and numb, like she was trapped under invisible weights. Her vision was blurry, and there was a weird ringing in her ears. Then, She saw the figure. Someone was leaning over her, silhouetted against a soft blue light that seemed to fill the room. Maya's heart started racing as her mind tried to process what was happening. The figure was tall and thin, with unusually long arms that seemed to be moving in strange, flowing motions above her chest. Her first thought was pure terror. Someone had broken into her apartment. They were attacking her. She tried to scream, but no sound came out. She tried to move, but her body wouldn't respond. The panic was overwhelming. But then something strange happened. As her vision cleared, Maya realized the figure wasn't attacking her at all. The movements weren't violent or threatening. Instead, they seemed careful, almost medical. The long arms were moving in precise patterns, and Maya could feel a warm, tingling sensation spreading through her chest. The figure noticed she was awake and immediately stepped back. In the soft blue light, Maya could see that this wasn't some random intruder. The person was wearing familiar clothes, the same style of simple, dark clothing she'd seen in River's laundry. But the body shape was all wrong. Too tall, too thin, with proportions that didn't quite match any human she'd ever seen. "Please do not be afraid," came River's voice, but it sounded different somehow, more melodic with strange undertones that made Maya's skin tingle. "You were in distress. I was trying to help." Maya's mind was spinning. She could move again, slowly sitting up on her bed. The blue light was coming from River's hands, which were unlike any hands she'd ever seen. The fingers were longer than normal, and they seemed to glow with their own soft light. "River," Maya's voice came out as a whisper. "What? ... What are you?" River stood perfectly still for a moment, and Maya could see the conflict playing out across their face. It was definitely River's face, but the features were more angular, more refined than they had appeared in the brief glimpses Maya had caught before. The eyes were larger, with an unusual depth that seemed to hold starlight. "I am not from here," River said finally, their voice carrying a weight that made Maya understand this was the biggest truth anyone had ever shared with her. "I am from a place very far away, another world entirely." Maya stared at River, her mind trying to process what she was hearing. Another world? Like another planet? That was impossible. It was science fiction. "That was ... actually," it explained. "A lot the strange habits, the formal way of speaking, the questions about atmospheric conditions and local environment. The unusual payment method, the perfect cleaning skills, the way River seemed to know things about the neighborhood that no normal person would know." "You're saying an alien?" Maya asked, surprised by how calm her voice sounded. River nodded slowly. "That is the term humans use. Yes, I am what you would call a refugee. My planet was dying, and a small number of us were granted sanctuary. Here on Earth, we are part of a program that helps us integrate into human society." Maya looked around her room, noticing details she'd missed before. The blue light was fading now, but she could see that River's skin had an unusual shimmer to it, like it was made of something slightly different than regular human skin. The clothes that had looked normal from a distance were clearly made from some kind of advanced material that seemed to shift and adapt to River's movements. "Why were you ... Maya gestured to her bed, trying to find the right words. "What were you doing to me?" River's expression became concerned. "You were not breathing properly. Your heart rate was irregular. I could sense it through the wall. Your life signs were becoming dangerous. I was trying to help stabilize your body using techniques from my world." Maya thought back to the past week. The exhaustion, the energy drinks, the lack of sleep. She'd been pushing herself too hard, and her body had been trying to warn her, but she'd ignored all the signs. "You saved my life," she said, the realization hitting her like a wave. "I could not let harm come to you," River said simply. "You have been kind to me. You accepted me without questions when others might have been suspicious. You made me feel welcome in ways I had not expected." Maya stood up slowly, testing her balance. She felt better than she had in weeks, like whatever River had done had reset her entire system. The exhaustion was gone, replaced by a strange sense of clarity and energy. "So all this time you've been ... Maya gestured around the apartment. Learning to live among humans, River finished. Learning your customs, your social patterns, your way of life. The program assigns us to live with humans who are selected for their ... compatibility. I was selected? Maya asked. River nodded. Your psychological profile suggested you would be accepting of differences. Your academic background in anthropology indicated an interest in other cultures. And your personal circumstances meant you needed a roommate who would cause no complications. Maya sat back down on her bed, trying to process everything. Her roommate was an alien refugee. She was part of some kind of secret government program. Apparently, she'd been chosen because she was broke and open-minded. This is insane, she said, but she was smiling. This is completely insane. Are you afraid? River asked, and Maya could hear genuine concern in their voice. Maya thought about it. Was she afraid? She looked at River, really looked at them. Yes, they were clearly not human. Yes, this was the most impossible situation she'd ever found herself in. But River had just saved her life. River had been the perfect roommate for 3 months. River had been nothing but kind and respectful. No, Maya said, surprising herself with how certain she sounded. I'm not afraid, I'm curious. I have about 1,000,000 questions. River's face broke into what Maya realized was the first genuine smile she'd ever seen from them. It was a beautiful smile, even if it was on a face that wasn't quite human. I was hoping you would say that, River said. I have been wanting to talk to someone about my world for a very long time, but first, you should rest properly. What I did will help, but your body still needs natural sleep. Maya nodded, realizing she was actually exhausted in a completely different way now. Not the unhealthy exhaustion of too much stress and too little sleep, but the good kind of tired that comes after a big revelation. Tomorrow, she said. Tomorrow, I want to know everything. Tomorrow, River agreed. But Maya, thank you for not running away screaming. Maya laughed, the sound surprising them both. Where would I run to? You're the best roommate I've ever had, alien or not. As River quietly left her room, Maya lay back down on her bed and stared at the ceiling. Research paper was forgotten. Her normal life was forgotten. Everything she thought she knew about the world had just been turned upside down, and somehow she'd never felt more excited about what tomorrow might bring. Maya woke up the next morning feeling like she'd slept for a week. The exhaustion that had been weighing her down for days was completely gone, replaced by a weird sense of energy and clarity. For a moment, she lay in bed wondering if the whole thing had been some kind of stress-induced dream. Then she saw her research paper, still unfinished on her laptop screen, and remembered everything. Her roommate was an alien, an actual alien from another planet, and somehow that felt less crazy than it should have. She could hear movement in the kitchen, which was unusual. River was normally asleep during the day. Maya threw on a robe and padded out to find River standing by the window, looking oddly nervous. In the morning light, the differences Maya had noticed the night before were even more obvious. River's skin had a subtle shimmer, like it was made of something that wasn't quite human. Their movements were too fluid, too graceful. Good morning, River said, their voice carrying that same musical quality Maya had noticed before. I was not sure if you would want to see me today. Are you kidding? Maya said, making a beeline for the coffee maker. I've been thinking about this all night. Well, the part of the night when I was actually awake. River seemed to relax a little. I was worried you might have changed your mind, that you might be afraid now that you had time to think about it. Maya poured herself coffee and settled at the kitchen table. River, you saved my life last night. You've been the perfect roommate for 3 months. You've never done anything to make me feel unsafe. Why would I be afraid now? Because I am not what I appeared to be, River said quietly. I deceived you. You had a secret, Maya corrected. That's not the same thing. Besides, I get it. I was an alien trying to fit in with humans. I'd probably keep it quiet too. River sat down across from her, and Maya noticed they didn't have any coffee. Do you not drink coffee? She asked. I cannot process most human foods, River explained. My digestive system is different. I have been surviving on supplements that I order online, disguised as health products. That explains why I never saw you eating anything, Maya said. I just thought you were really private about food." They sat in comfortable silence for a moment. Maya found herself studying River's face, noticing all the small details that made them beautiful in a completely non-human way. The eyes were definitely the most striking feature, larger than normal, with an unusual depth that seemed to hold entire galaxies. "So," Maya said finally, "tell me everything. I want to know about your world, about how you got here, about this program you mentioned." River's expression brightened, and Maya realized this was exactly what they'd been hoping to hear. "My planet was called Kepler-44 to be by your scientists," River began. "We called it home, but it was dying. The sun was expanding, and our atmosphere was becoming toxic. We had maybe 50 years left before the planet became uninhabitable." Maya listened, fascinated, as River described a world that sounded both incredibly advanced and heartbreakingly doomed. River's people had developed technology that seemed like magic to Maya. They could manipulate energy with their hands, communicate across vast distances without devices, and heal injuries that would be fatal to humans. "But we never developed space travel fast enough," River continued. "We were too focused on trying to save our planet. By the time we realized it was hopeless, we only had time to save a small number of our people." "How many?" Maya asked. "About 2,000, River said. "We were scattered across different planets that could support us. Earth received about 300 of us because your world is the most similar to ours." Maya tried to imagine it being one of only a few hundred survivors of an entire civilization. It must have been terrifying. "It was," River admitted. "But your government has been surprisingly welcoming. There is a secret program that helps us integrate. We are given human identities, housing assistance, and cultural training. In exchange, we share some of our knowledge and technology." "That why you're so good at cleaning?" Maya asked with a smile. "Alien technology?" River laughed, and the sound was like wind chimes. "No, that is just basic respect for shared spaces, though I may have used some energy manipulation to fix your internet connection." Maya nearly choked on her coffee. "You fixed our internet?" "It was operating at only 60% efficiency," River said matter-of-factly. "I made some adjustments." "River, our internet has been faster than everyone else's in the building for months. People keep asking me what service provider we use." "I can reverse the modifications if you prefer," River offered. "Don't you dare," Maya said quickly, making River laugh again as the morning went on. Maya found herself completely absorbed in River's stories. They talked about the differences between their species, how River's people could sense emotions and life forces, how they didn't experience time the same way humans did, how their society had been built around cooperation rather than competition. That's why the formal language, Maya realized. You're translating concepts that don't have direct equivalents in English. "Exactly," River said. "Many human concepts are difficult for me to understand. Individual ownership, for example. On my world, everything was shared. The idea of paying rent for a private space was very strange at first." "What about emotions?" Maya asked. "Do you feel things the same way we do?" River was quiet for a moment. "Some things, yes. Others are completely new. Loneliness, for instance. On my world, we were always connected to each other mentally. Being alone in my thoughts was one of the hardest adjustments to make here." Maya felt a pang of sympathy. "Is that why you were so quiet when you first moved in? You were lonely?" "Was terrified," River admitted. "I had never lived with just one other person before. I was afraid I would make mistakes, that I would reveal myself by accident. I was afraid you would reject me if you knew the truth. But you don't have to worry about that anymore," Maya said firmly. "You're stuck with me now." River smiled, and Maya noticed how their whole face seemed to light up. "I was hoping you would say that. I have been wanting to share my world with someone, but the program discourages close relationships with humans. They say it makes integration more difficult." "Why?" "Because eventually we may have to leave," River said quietly. "The plan is for us to establish a permanent colony somewhere else. Once we have learned enough about surviving on different worlds, Earth is considered a temporary refuge." Maya felt something cold settle in her stomach. "How long do you have?" "No one knows. It could be years, or it could be decades. It depends on many factors: political situations, resource availability, whether we can find a suitable planet for a permanent settlement. The thought of River leaving someday made Maya unexpectedly sad. In just a few hours, she'd gone from thinking of River as a mysterious but helpful roommate to, what, a friend? Something more than that? Hey, she said suddenly. Do you want to see a movie tonight? I mean, if you're not busy with alien stuff? River looked confused. Movie? Entertainment? Stories told through moving pictures. It's a very human thing to do with friends. Friends, River repeated, like they were testing the word. I would like that very much. The rest of the day passed in a blur of conversation and discovery. Maya called in sick to work, something she never did, but she couldn't bear to leave. Every answer River gave led to 10 more questions, and River seemed just as curious about human culture as Maya was about theirs. They talked about everything River's, memories of their home planet, the challenges of learning human social customs, the other refugees scattered around the world. Maya shared her own stories too, talking about her family, her dreams, her fears about the future. By evening, Maya realized that something fundamental had shifted between them. The formal politeness was gone, replaced by genuine warmth and understanding. River was no longer just her mysterious roommate. They were becoming one of the most important people in her life. As they settled on the couch to watch a movie, Maya couldn't help but marvel at how natural it felt. Here she was, sitting next to someone from another world, and it was the most comfortable she'd felt in months. Maya, River said quietly as the opening credits rolled, "Thank you for accepting me, for wanting to know about my world. I have not felt this content since I left my planet." Maya looked at River, seeing not an alien refugee, but a friend who had trusted her with their biggest secret. "Thank you for trusting me with the truth. This is the most amazing thing that's ever happened to me." River smiled, and Maya noticed how their eyes seemed to sparkle in the dim light of the TV. "I believe this is what humans call the beginning of a beautiful friendship." Maya grinned. "You've been watching old movies, haven't you?" "I may have been studying human culture more thoroughly than I admitted," River said with what Maya was learning to recognize as their version of a mischievous expression. As the movie played, Maya found herself thinking about how much her life had changed in just 24 hours. Yesterday, she'd been a stressed college student just trying to make ends meet. Today, she was part of something bigger than she'd ever imagined, and, somehow, that felt exactly right. The next few months brought changes that Maya never could have imagined. Living with River had always been easy, but now that the truth was out, it became something entirely different. It became magical. River was like having the world's most interesting teacher living in her apartment. Every conversation opened up new ways of thinking about everything Maya thought she knew. When she struggled with her physics homework, River would explain concepts using examples from their home planets. Technology. When Maya complained about human drama and social complications, River would share stories about how their people had solved similar problems through cooperation instead of conflict. Maya's grades improved dramatically, not because River was doing her work for her, but because they helped her see patterns and connections she'd never noticed before. Her professors started commenting on how much more insightful her papers had become. Maya's advisor even suggested she consider changing her focus to include cross-cultural studies. But the biggest change was in Maya herself. She felt more confident, more curious about the world. Having a friend from literally another world gave her perspective on problems that used to seem overwhelming. River's calm, thoughtful approach to life was rubbing off on her. River was changing too. They were becoming more relaxed, more openly expressive. The formal, careful way of speaking was giving way to something warmer and more natural. River had started making jokes. Weird, alien jokes that shouldn't have been funny but somehow were. They'd even begun showing physical affection, something that apparently wasn't common in their culture. "On my world, we didn't touch each other," casually River explained one evening after Maya had patted their shoulder during a particularly funny movie scene. "Physical contact was reserved for very specific purposes. But I find I enjoy this human custom," good Maya said, "because I'm a hugger." Fair warning. River had learned to appreciate human food too, even though they couldn't eat most of it. They loved the smell of Maya's cooking and would often sit in the kitchen while she made dinner, asking questions about ingredients and techniques. Maya had started making extra just so River could experience the process, even if they could only consume their own specialized supplements. Their living arrangement had become so comfortable that Maya sometimes forgot how unusual their situation was until the day her mom called to announce she was coming for a surprise visit. "She'll be here tomorrow," Maya said, staring at her phone in panic. "Tomorrow, River? My mom is coming tomorrow, and she's planning to stay for 3 days." River looked confused. "This is a problem?"
"Oh, River, my mom is going to want to meet you."
"She's going to ask you a million questions about your family, your background, where you're from. What are we going to tell her?" This was their first real test. They'd been living in a bubble where River's secret was safe, but now the outside world was about to intrude. They spent the entire night crafting a cover story. River would be an exchange student from Northern Europe, Finland, specifically because Maya's mom wouldn't know enough to ask detailed questions. River's unusual features could be explained by rare genetic conditions that also required special lighting for their health. Supplements could be medications for a chronic condition. River practiced speaking with a slight accent and memorized details about Finnish culture. Maya coached them on typical human family dynamics and social expectations. By morning, they thought they were ready. Maya's mom arrived like a whirlwind, as she always did. Linda Martinez was a tiny woman with an enormous personality who loved to feed people and ask personal questions. She took one look at River and immediately decided they were too thin and probably not eating enough vegetables. "You poor thing," she said, clasping River's hands in hers. "You're so far from home, and you look pale. Are you getting enough sunlight?" "Maya, why didn't you tell me your roommate was sick?" Maya watched in fascination as River navigated her mother's attention with surprising grace. They answered questions about Finland with carefully rehearsed responses and accepted Linda's fussing with what looked like genuine appreciation. The problems started on day 2. Linda had insisted on cooking a big family dinner, and River had politely explained they were on a very strict medical diet. But Linda was not easily deterred when it came to feeding people. She kept offering alternatives, smaller portions, just a taste of this or that. "I had never met someone who couldn't eat anything I cook," Linda said, looking genuinely distressed. "There must be something you can have." River was running out of polite excuses, and Maya could see the stress building. Then Linda decided to help by researching River's supposed medical condition online. "I can't find anything about this syndrome you mentioned," Linda announced over breakfast on the 3rd day. "And these symptoms you described don't match any of the Finnish medical websites I found." Maya felt her stomach drop. River looked like they were calculating the distance to the nearest exit. "Mom," Maya said quickly, "maybe the condition has a different name in Finnish medical terms." But Linda was suspicious now. She'd been a nurse for 20 years before retiring, and she knew when medical stories didn't add up. She started asking more pointed questions about River's family, their education, their plans for the future. River handled it as well as anyone could, but Maya could see them struggling. Every lie led to another question, and each answer had to be consistent with everything they'd said before. By the afternoon, they were both exhausted from the mental gymnastics. The breaking point came when Linda decided to surprise them by researching Finnish recipes online to cook something River could eat. She'd found a traditional dish that was supposed to be safe for people with digestive issues. "I stayed up all night figuring out ingredient substitutions," Linda announced proudly, presenting a beautifully prepared meal. "This should be perfect for your condition." River stared at the food with something close to panic. Maya could see them trying to figure out how to refuse without hurting Linda's feelings or blowing their cover. "That's so thoughtful," Maya said quickly, "but River's doctor is really strict about the timing of their medications. They can't eat anything for a few hours after taking their morning dose." Linda's face fell. "But it's already past noon." "Different time zones affect the medication schedule," River added weakly. Maya could see her mother putting pieces together, and none of them were forming a picture that made sense. Linda might not know about aliens, but she definitely knew when someone was lying to her. That evening, after Linda had gone to bed, Maya and River sat on the couch in exhausted silence. "I don't think she believes us," Maya said quietly. I know she doesn't, River replied. Your mother is very intelligent and very persistent. I'm sorry. I should have prepared better. I should have thought of more details. River shook their head. You did everything you could. Problem is that I'm not very good at deception. My people don't practice it the way humans do. Maya looked at River, seeing how tired they looked. The stress of maintaining the lie for 3 days was taking its toll. What do we do now? Maya asked. I don't know, River admitted. If she reports her suspicions to the authorities, it could compromise the entire program. There are protocols for situations like this, but they usually involve relocating the refugee and ending all contact with the human family. The thought of River being taken away made Maya's chest tight with panic. No, we'll figure something else out. There has to be another way. River looked at her with something that might have been. Hope you would want me to stay, even though my presence puts you at risk? Of course I want you to stay, Maya said without hesitation. River, you're the best thing that's happened to me in years. You're my friend. More than that, you're family. River's eyes widened. Family? The kind you choose, Maya explained. The kind that matters more than genetics or planets of origin.
Yes.
River was quiet for a long moment. On my world, we have a concept that translates roughly to soul bonding. It happens when two people become so connected that they share a piece of their essential selves. I thought it was something only my species could experience, Maya felt. Her heart skipped, and now I think maybe the universe has more surprises than any of us expected, River said softly. They sat in comfortable silence, both lost in thought. Tomorrow, Linda would leave, and they'd have to figure out how to move forward. But for now, in this moment, Maya felt like they could handle anything as long as they faced it together. The friendship that had started with a classified ad and a mysterious roommate had grown into something neither of them had names for. Odd names that transcended species and planets and all the practical reasons why it shouldn't work. Something that felt like home. 6 months after Maya's mom's visit, life had settled into a new kind of normal. Linda had left with obvious questions but had kept them to herself, probably figuring that if Maya was happy and safe, the details didn't matter as much as she'd thought. Maya was grateful for her mother's wisdom. Even if she couldn't explain it, Maya and River had grown even closer after surviving that test. They'd developed their own routines, their own inside jokes, their own way of communicating that didn't require words. Maya had never felt more understood by another person or being, she supposed, which made the phone call that came on a Tuesday morning in April so much harder to process. Maya, you need to sit down, Dr. Chen said when Maya answered her advisor's call. I have news that's going to change your life. Maya sank onto the couch, gesturing for River to join her. River had gotten good at reading Maya's expressions, and they could clearly see something big was happening. The International Cultural Research Foundation wants to offer you a position, Dr. Chen continued. It's a 2-year program studying adaptation patterns in displaced populations around the world. You'd be traveling to refugee camps, immigrant communities, places where people are learning to build new lives in foreign environments. Maya's heart started racing. This was the kind of opportunity she'd dreamed about but never thought would come so early in her career. That's amazing, she said, though something in her voice must have sounded uncertain. There's more, Dr. Chen said. They specifically requested you because of your recent work on cultural integration. Your papers have been getting attention in academic circles. They want someone young, fresh, with new perspectives on how people adapt to dramatic life changes. After Maya hung up, she sat staring at her phone. River was watching her with concern. Good news? River asked carefully. I think so. Maybe I don't know, Maya explained the offer, watching River's expression grow more thoughtful with each detail. This is an incredible opportunity, River said when she finished. You would be able to study the very concepts we've been discussing, but on a global scale, it would mean leaving you, Maya said quietly, for 2 years. River was silent for a long moment. Maya, you cannot base major life decisions on our friendship. This is your career, your future. You're my future too, Maya said, surprising herself with how fierce her voice sounded. River, I can't imagine my life without you in it anymore. These past months have been the best of my life. They have been the best of mine, River said softly. But I have news as well. News I was not sure how to share with you. Maya felt her stomach drop. What kind of news? River stood up and walked to the window, looking out at the city they'd both come to love. The program administrators have been pleased with my integration, so pleased that they've offered me a new role. They want me to become a cultural liaison, helping other refugees adjust to life on Earth. That's wonderful, Maya said, though. She could hear the uncertainty in her own voice, right? It would mean moving to the program's main facility in Colorado. I would be working with newly arrived refugees, teaching them what I've learned about human society. River turned back to face her. It would also mean revealing my identity to the human staff there. No more hiding. Maya stared at River, trying to process what this meant. River would be doing important work, helping their own people. But they'd be doing it far away from her. So we're both getting offered our dream jobs, Maya said slowly. And they're both taking us in opposite directions. River nodded. It appears the universe has a sense of irony. They spent the rest of the day walking around the city, talking through their options. Maya could turn down the research position and stay in town, but she'd always wonder what she'd missed. River could decline the liaison role. But there might not be another opportunity to help their people in such a meaningful way. What if we tried long distance? Maya suggested as they sat in their favorite coffee shop. Video calls, visits when we can afford them. For 2 years? River asked gently. Maya, you would meet new people, have new experiences. You shouldn't be tied down by someone you can't even introduce to your colleagues. I don't care about that, Maya said, but even as she said it, she knew River was right. The research position would consume her life. She'd be moving constantly, working long hours, building relationships with people from dozens of different cultures. It wouldn't be fair to either of them to try to maintain their connection across that kind of distance and distraction. That night, they sat on their couch, watching a movie neither of them was really paying attention to. The weight of the decisions they had to make hung heavy in the air. I keep thinking there has to be another option, Maya said during a particularly quiet moment. Some solution we haven't considered? Like what? River asked. Maya was quiet for a long time, an idea forming in her mind. It was crazy. It was probably impossible. But the more she thought about it, the more sense it made. River, she said slowly, what if the solution isn't choosing between our opportunities? What if it's combining them? River looked confused. I don't understand. Maya turned to face them fully, excitement building in her voice. Think about it. You need to help refugees adapt to human society. I need to study how displaced populations integrate into new cultures. What if we could do both things together? The program would never allow a human to be directly involved, River said. It's too classified, too risky. But what if I wasn't just a human? Maya said. What if I was a researcher whose work specifically focused on the kind of integration, challenges your people face? What if my studies could help develop better support systems for all refugees, not just the ones from your world? River was staring at her now, and Maya could see the wheels turning. You're suggesting we find a way to merge your research with my liaison work? River said slowly. I'm suggesting we propose something that's never been done before, Maya said, her excitement growing. A joint program that studies integration challenges across different types of displacement human refugees, immigrant populations, and yes, even extraterrestrial refugees. The perfect cover and the perfect research opportunity all in one. It was quiet for a long time, considering it would require convincing both your academic foundation and my program administrators. It would mean revealing aspects of the alien integration program that have never been shared with outside researchers. Think about what we could accomplish, Maya said. Real, meaningful research that could help improve life for displaced people everywhere. And we could do it together. Over the next 2 weeks, Maya and River worked tirelessly to develop their proposal. Maya reached out to Dr. Chen, explained that she wanted to modify her research focus to include a classified government integration program River spoke with their program administrators about the potential benefits of academic collaboration. The negotiations were complicated. There were security clearances to obtain, contracts to sign, and endless meetings with people whose job it was to say no to new ideas. But Maya and River had something powerful on their side. Their own relationship was proof that their proposed research could work. "You two have achieved a level of cross-cultural integration that we've never seen before," program director told them during one crucial meeting. "If you can document and replicate that process, it could revolutionize how we approach refugee assistance." 3 months later, Maya found herself standing in a research facility in Colorado, watching River introduce a group of newly arrived extraterrestrial refugees to human social customs. She was officially the lead researcher on the most groundbreaking cultural integration study ever attempted. The work was challenging in ways Maya had never imagined. Every day brought new discoveries about communication, adaptation, and the universal challenges of building a home in a strange place. She was developing frameworks that could help any displaced population, while River was able to use their unique perspective to bridge gaps between human and alien communities. But the best part was the evenings when they'd return to their new apartment and share stories about their day. Maya would talk about her research findings, and River would describe the progress their newest refugees were making. They were building something together that neither of them could have achieved alone. One night, almost a year after moving to Colorado, Maya was reviewing research data when River sat down beside her. "I have been thinking about something you said," River began. "About family being something you choose." Maya looked up from her laptop. "Yeah? I realize now that I have been thinking about this all wrong," River said. "I kept worrying about the differences between us, about whether our friendship could survive the challenges of our different worlds. But the truth is, we have already created our own world. Right here." Maya felt tears gathering in her eyes. "River, I used to think home was a place," River continued. "A planet, a physical location. But I understand now that home is not where you come from. It is who you choose to build a life with." Maya closed her laptop and turned to face River fully. "So what are you saying?" River smiled, and in that smile, Maya could see all the warmth and affection that had grown between them. "Over the months, I am saying that I would like to continue building this life with you, for as long as you will have me."